Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to Tuesday Tea Time. I am out in the horse paddock on a beautiful, windy, slightly rainy day. It's dripping a little bit. I think not too much to drive me inside. I am here with my mare Cleo, being a little shy. And Cleo is eating through the fence with the thoroughbred mare Can Do. And Myrna is... Where's Myrna? Oh, there she is. She's just coming down off the hill. Good morning, Florentine. I'm glad you could join me for tea. So it's a little windy today. I'll try and project my voice. If it gets too loud in the microphone because of the wind, let me know and I can go inside where it's more sheltered. And good evening, Sandra. I'm glad you could join us from Sundance Ranch. So, as I'm here with Cleo and Can Do and Myrna up on the hill, I wanted to talk a little bit about the sanctity of home. We're going towards Thanksgiving this week in the United States, and I think everybody's really grateful to have a home and a place to live. I am also starting up my online course. It starts this coming weekend with a new group of students, and I'm always really excited to start the class with new students and learn about them and learn about their horses. But one of the things that comes up before we start classes is this question of, where is it okay to work with my horse? Is it okay to work with them in their paddock? Is it okay to work with them with their friends there? Is it okay to work with them separated from their friends? And, my answer is, as usual, it depends. But I thought it would be a good time to talk about this a little bit and sort of why you would choose to work in the herd or outside the herd, why you would choose to be with friends or not. So Myrna here, I think she's going to come down and share hay with everyone. She's going to investigate my tea. It smells good, doesn't it? So, hi, Rachel. I'm glad you could join us. With freedom-based training, I really think it is okay to work in the horse's home, to work with them in the herd, with their friends. And the reason that's okay is because everything we do in freedom-based training really honors the horse's feeling, opinion, desires. What they think and what they feel matters. It counts. And we don't ever tell them that it doesn't count or that they have to put that aside or put that away. Now, with the wind blowing, these two mares do a little bit of a run up the hill sometimes. And this is something that they feel is necessary. It's something they feel is okay. It's something that they've established over 23 hours of the day that I'm not here, that it's safest for them when there's a big gust of wind for them to run to the high ground, leave the food and run to the high ground. If I were to get in the way of that, if I were to interrupt it, tell them that's not okay, then we start having a little bit of a problem with me working with them in their home. Because when I work with them in their home, they have strong habits and patterns of what they think is normal, what they think is important. And if I step in and I tell them that they're wrong or that they shouldn't do the things that they practice 23 hours a day, they're going to fight me a little bit. They're going to say, this pattern works for us. Who are you to tell us that we shouldn't do what we always do? And so this is why you'll often have trainers say, don't work with them where they live. Take them away from where they live to work with them. Because if you have a really strong opinion about what they should or should not do, they are going to be more open to your suggestions away from their home or in a place that they're always with you and they're never by themselves making their own decisions. So this is a interesting thing to think about. Now, in freedom-based training, I spend a lot of time working around the horses and showing them from my behavior which things I like and which things I don't like. But I don't get in the way of what they want to do. If they want to run to the top of the hill, they get to run to the top of the hill. I'm not going to stop them. Now, as the training progresses and they become more and more interested in my point of view, they might start looking to me for help. Now, obviously, if I'm talking to you guys at tea time and looking at my phone, I'm not much help. So they're going to do what they're going to do, and they're going to be very normal and natural in their home. But if I had my full attention on them and they could see that I was responding to them and moving around them, they might look to me for help. And if they look to me for help, then I can make a good suggestion. But it really stems from the horse wanting to work with me, not me stepping in and saying they should change their behavior because I'm here. If you're going to step in and you're going to tell the horse that they should change their behavior because you're there, first of all, tools are going to help you out, whether it's food rewards or a halter or a rope or a stick or a flag. Having some sort of a tool is going to help you motivate them to behave in the way you want them to. But if you take them out of their home, where they are not used to making all the decisions 23 hours a day, you're going to find that they are more open to your suggestions because they're in a place where they only go with you. And so that's a place where they're more open to your direction as a trainer, as a friend, as a leader. So this is something that is really helpful to remember. You know, if you're going to be doing a lot of dominant training where you tell the horse it is not okay to run when the wind blows, it's not okay to kick out when you hear a loud noise. You know, when you start setting really firm boundaries, those boundaries are going to be easier to set outside of their home space. Now, you can set them inside of their home space. It's just going to take a greater amount of dominance to override all of the habits and patterns they have been using for, however long they've lived in that space. They have a lot of hours of patterns developed in that space. If you take them out of their home space, they have fewer patterns, and you can set the kind of patterns that you expect for them to behave in the way that you want. I'm not saying you can't do it in their home. I'm saying it will be more difficult to do in their home. Now, with freedom-based training, I do it completely differently. I work almost entirely in their home. But my job is to do so much passive and supportive leadership that the horse becomes interested in my opinion. I'm not stepping in and telling them what they should or should not do, but I am present as the kind of leader that they want to look to and say, Elsa, what do you think we should do? Can you help us feel better? And once I've earned that place where they want to ask me for help, then I can start really changing their behavior. I can start changing their patterns. And if I suggest something and then they feel really good in my company, that's going to start a new kind of pattern. But I have to remember they're practicing whatever they practice 23 hours a day. When I come in for an hour or 2 or 3, depending on how much time I have to work with their already existing patterns. If the wind blows really hard, they think running to the top of the hill is their safest option. If they look to me for help and I make a different suggestion, I better have a plan of how that different suggestion is going to end up with better feeling. And they go, yes, Elsa makes good decisions. We should listen to Elsa more often. It's really slow, gradual development of them learning to trust me It's not like most dominant training where you step in and you say, this is what you should do and this is what you shouldn't do, and I am the boss, so if I tell you not to run to the top of the hill, you better listen to me. Freedom-based training isn't like that. They really get the freedom to decide if and when they're ready to accept you as a leader and get help from you and be interested in your point of view. So let's see, Christian says, I find it tricky currently in the new stable where I don't know many new habits yet. So yeah, that's an interesting piece. In a new stable, you don't have a lot of established habits yet, so you don't know what they are. But you have to remember, even if it's new, your horse has a lot of every day practicing things without you. And so even if you've only been there for 2 days, they've had more time in those 2 days making their own decisions than they have listening to your decisions. And so if you work with them in the space of their home, they're going to hold on to the things that they've been practicing all day when you weren't there. If you take them out of their home, they're going to be a little bit more open-minded and say, what would you do? What suggestions do you have? Now, obviously, stress levels count for a lot here. So the lower their stress is, the more open-minded they're going to be. The higher their stress is, the less open-minded they're going to be. So if their stress is a lot higher when you take them out of their home, they're not going to be very open-minded. But every situation is going to be a little bit unique that way. And you just have to play with it and see. So with my students, I suggest they try all the things. Try working with horses in the herd. Try working with horses outside the herd. Try separating them. Try not separating them. Find what the differences are. And once you know what the differences are, then you can adapt your behavior and your expectations to how to have the best relationship with your horse in each situation. So let's see. Joanna says, we should all listen to Elsa more often. Thank you. That's a very nice compliment. Rebecca says, I like how long it takes. Makes it all the more worthwhile when your suggestions become the ones they decide to take you on. Yeah. I agree, Rebecca. There's something about investing the time, investing the work, and then, when they decide they really are interested in your point of view, there's something really gratifying about having earned it instead of having taken it and then had that become normal just because it happened enough. Christian says, I need to go longer with the horse now, so I learn about their experience in the last 23 hours, days, etc. Yeah. So there's that saying, first you go with the horse, then the horse goes with you, and then you go together. In freedom-based training, we really take a lot of time to go with the horse. What does the horse think is important in the sanctity of their home? What are the kinds of choices that make them feel like they're safe? Myrna's up there at the top gate. That's where she feels safest on this windy day. That's really good information for me to have. Cleo and Candu, they're a lot calmer in the wind. It doesn't bother them as much, so they're down here eating hay. And, there is another hay net here. Myrna could be with us eating hay too. She just feels better at the top of the hill when it's windy. And that is really important for me to know how she is in the sanctity of her home before I stretch it or change it or develop it. Yes, I can help her, but it's so much better if she wants my help. Rebecca says, I found working outside the home means my decisions are considered more, but they seem to be a little more superficially accepted. At home, we're on an even playing field. That is a very good description, Rebecca. I would agree with you. That's often how I feel about it too. And that's why I do so much work at home. I feel like it's really deep. If they want to take my suggestions at home, it really means something. It means a lot. Let's see. Yes, Christian, I think it was Tom Dorrance that said that. Sandra says, with my mule, he listens to me very little in his home, and it's hugely different if I take him to the arena. Outside, it's yet different because he gets scared and wants to run home. Yeah, and that's really what I'm talking about, Sandra, is that, yes, stress levels matter. So outside the arena, his stress levels are higher. He's less likely to work with you gracefully. In the arena, his stress levels are lower, and it's not his normal home. So he's a little bit more open to your opinions and your ideas. In his home, you're really going to have to earn it. You're going to have to earn that status with him, that he's interested in what you suggest. He's interested in what you want to do. So it's just something to think about. Yeah, Sandra, I think you're right. It is Ray Hunt. It gets attributed to Tom Dorrance a lot, but I think it is Ray Hunt that said that about first you follow the horse, then the horse follows you, and then you go together. Oh no, Tom Dorrance. Sandra, thank you for being my fact checker. Anyway, it's gone around a lot. Joanna says, my horse has become so dependent on my decisions, he nearly can't make decisions on his own. That does happen a lot, particularly with horses who end up making bad decisions. You know, if they're on their own and all day long when you're not there, they make a lot of decisions that end up making them feel worse. When you show up, they are so grateful to have someone else make decisions that end up making them feel better. And I see this a lot, actually. So good for you that you've proven yourself to be someone that makes good decisions. That's really good. I find with horses that are really dependent like that, the more often we can set them up for success and then wait. Just wait and see if the horse can make a good decision and feel sort of proud of themselves for how good they felt after they made that decision. Taking moments where you go, there's not a lot of ways that my horse can mess up right here in this situation. And when there is not a lot of ways for them to mess up, if you can sit back and wait for them to make the decision, they become a lot more self-confident. So, let's see. Carrie says, this makes so much sense. I spend a lot of time hanging out in their home. I can't wait to explore in their home in a different way. Yeah, that's the process. If you can spend time with them and then start showing them what a good decision maker you are for your own body, then they start looking to you for advice. Elsa always knows what to do with herself, and we all feel better. What happens if we also do what Elsa decides? Do we all feel better that way too? And that's kind of what we want to prove to them with freedom-based training. Florentine says, I can see how good or not my relationship is when we leave home. Yeah, I know, Florentine, with you and your horses, you really want them to opt in. You want them to want your advice. And so for someone like you who really wants the horse to decide they want your help, you're going to want to build that at home and then test it outside of home, because the stress levels go up a little bit as you leave home. For those of us who prefer to train in less dominant ways, home is a great place to start. For people who really like to train in more dominant ways, it's usually better to take them out of their home and go to an arena or go to a safe place and work in those more dominant ways where the horse doesn't have so many patterns. Yep, Florentine confirms Tom Dorrance. Thank you guys for fact-checking for me. I really enjoy that. Joanna says, yes, he ends up stuck on the wrong side of the fence and waits to be saved. Yep, I've met a couple horses like that, Joanna. I think about it a lot. It's about just encouraging them to think more. The more we can reinforce those ears moving, those eyes moving, the processing that comes without action is the stuff that helps them do good action when they are taking action. So a horse that gets stuck on the wrong side of the fence is a horse that freezes in their thought pattern, and they can't remember where the gate is, and they can't remember how to get around the fence. And really the best we can do is keep encouraging them to think more in calm, relaxed times, so that their brain and their emotional stability becomes strong enough that it will kick in and work for them, even in moments when the stress comes up a little bit too much. Christian says, my pony acts like it's a maze sometimes. I find that, we use a lot of electric wire cross fencing, and we change fences a lot. And it is something that new horses struggle with when they move in here. But over time, they get better at that puzzle. How do I think my way through this maze to get where I want to go? But it's a skill that they have to learn. So, as you can see, rain is coming down pretty hard. I should probably end this tea time before my phone is too soaked. But I wanted to share this lovely moment with Candu and Cleo eating together. This is a pattern, a habit that feels really good to them in the sanctity of their home. And Myrna's up on the hill. I'm actually going to go spend a little time with her because she looks like she's a little lonely up there. And see if we can find a better feeling together, even with the gusts of wind that keep coming through. So, thank you, Joanna. Love to you from the San Juans. I'm glad you're doing so well in Ireland. Rebecca says, the thinking is magic. It comes when you least expect it as you work this process. 1 minute, you think that you know what their response will be. The next, they surprise you. Yeah, I agree, Rebecca. If you can teach them to think better, that thinking muscle gets stronger and more capable. It's pretty awesome when you watch the evolution happen over time. All right. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Happy Thanksgiving to those of you celebrating in the U.S. And I will see you next week.